Hey, folks, welcome to another Manana No Mas podcast episode. Today, I am thrilled to bring another great person to the audience, to you, to everybody. This is actually a referral for me, not somebody that I met in person, but a referral. And I'm so glad that Noemi made the referral for me. Her name is Diana Fritz. Like myself, she is also a cancer survivor, but she goes one step further and calls herself a cancer thriver. So I thought it would be great to have her on. She survived cancer, has a book. She's a family person. I don't think there's too much of a more of a better fit that would fit the Manana No Mas show. Diana, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, Kurt. Thank you for the opportunity to join you today. To add on to what you mentioned, right? I am certainly a proud mom of two boys and also a wife. And I strive to be a servant leader no matter the role I'm in, whether I'm a coach, a consultant, a fractional executive, whatever that role may be. My goal is to add value to the people around me.
I gotta say, I feel like I just walked back in time. I'm back at the IMC 2016. Like the words all ring true, right? Add value to others. Tell me a little bit about a book. I know that you've written a book, so you're a published author, but you also do a lot of leadership speaking. So kind of walk me through. I know for me, I published my first book with the hopes that I would do more speaking. Like that was kind of like how I thought. And I felt that I had something to share. And I was in a very specific niche that I feel that I was able to embrace and add value to, like you said, to steal those words. But tell me about your story and kind of how it evolved for you.
Yes, and my book is around lessons from my cancer journey, which um, it's was important to me to make it more about just read a story about Diana, right? There's nothing too much exciting about me, but what are the lessons right along the journey? And a lot of the lessons are around positive mindset, never forgetting that we always have the freedom to choose how we respond to what comes at us, and the importance of leading ourselves well, right, on the journey. And those are lessons for me on my cancer journey, but also big lessons to me as just being a leader, whether that leadership scenario is showing up as a parent, or in the workplace or in churches or areas that I volunteer. Um, you have to earn the right to lead and to expect people to follow and want to join along with you. So that was my, reason for writing the book, was to really around share lessons from my cancer journey. There's just tons of people every year that are impacted by cancer. But to me, this story was broader than just somebody that has had cancer. We all have some type of a cancer, something that we need cut out, right? It could be anger, it could be a grudge, it could be, some other disease, right? But we all have some form of cancer that we need to move past and start to live and be free of that cancer.
I'm hearing the words come from you, and I picked up on a couple of things, and that is, because you had mentioned, fractional positions, fractional executive roles, um, consultant. There's these things that you've brought up, but the essence of what I'm taking from this is that your version of leadership isn't based on the role; it's based on the value that's added, or on the I hate to say return on investment. That's such a crass way to say things, but I'm gathering you're thinking more about what's received rather than the position that's assigned to it.
Yeah, no, that's a good way to phrase it. I mean, I think I can remember watching over the years so many people wanting a title, thinking that gives them the permission to lead and that everybody's just going to follow because there's a title. And I have that is like not the approach I have, gone for. I may not have the best title actually, but more people may be willing to follow because I've earned their trust, I've earned their respect. And that's always made me smile, particularly as a young executive. I was about 15 years younger than the rest on the team, and I was the only female. And my title wasn't as good as their titles. And it always would make me smile when people would come to me for direction. The title didn't matter. What mattered was they respected me and they knew that I cared about them. And so they would come to me even though my title wasn't the most important.
I can remember I had a corporate position. I was corporately employed by a large corporation. And when I took over this department inside this large corporation, they had just removed the title of senior from everybody's position. This to me, it had zero impact on me, Diana, zero impact. But I can remember I came in as the manager of this department, right? So I come in as the new guy off the street, and everybody's ticked. And I'm like, what is everybody so ticked about? And they're like, well, last month I was called the senior trainer, and now I'm just a trainer. And I'm like, did your job change? I was like, I'm totally confused. And then not for nothing, reviews came up that year, and as the manager, I had to do the evaluations. And when I saw what the team was being paid, I was like, the only way they got away with that pay in comparison to other competitors in that region was because they called them senior people, right? The idea that people would exchange a title for $8,000 to $10,000 a year to me is mind-boggling, because I've never really cared what the title is. I just kind of care about, like, what's the expectation, right? So do I have the right expectation going in? Do they have the right expectation with me doing my thing? And does the value kind of like equalize with those expectations? Meaning, do I get the right revenue, right? I've been amazed at interacting with people in the corporate space or in the church space or in the nonprofit space that will do anything in the world to have a title, even if it doesn't mean revenue or actual authority along the way.
Yes, I have seen that as well, and I it's comical. I will look at walking into organizations, and I don't it's important to them, put your title on your email signature. I'm like, I don't want a title there. I'm just Diana, and I'm here to lead, serve, add value, whatever that may be. Like I can't relate to that desire. So
Yeah, it's definitely a difficult thing for me to kind of wrap my hand around. Now, I want to transition this talk, like this idea, this mentality, this mindset that you have. Talk to me about uniquely imperfect and uniquely qualified, right? So if we were to follow your website, grit is, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we discussed grit's like the name of the company, and then UIUQ, uniquely imperfect, uniquely qualified, right? Grit, UIUQ.com.
yes, you've got it. You've got it.
Got to make sure I get things right. Talk to me about the book. Talk to me about how that came about and kind of what it's done for you.
Yeah. So my cancer journey started in I can't add anymore, 2014. Um, and at the time, of course, nobody's expecting to get a call and say, come into the office, and you find out, that when you get the call, it's not good news. But I was a new single mom. I had just separated from the boy's father like 6 months ago, and an executive, single mom of two young boys, and then getting a call, Diana, you have a rare form of cancer. And it's not a matter of, we can't treat you locally. We need to send you 4 hours away to South Florida to be treated. So that was a lot to balance. And I remember at that time frame, I wrote, I'd love to write a book and speak someday about my story, but I didn't do it. But I'm a journaler, thank goodness. So when I went about 5 years after that cancer free, and then in 2019 and 2021, the cancer popped back. And so I still had, that 9 years of my first 9 years of the cancer journey. We were able to save the eye through multiple surgeries to remove the cancer near the eye. But in 2013, actually at the end of 2022, my doctor called and like, Diana, we've been fighting for your eye for 9 years. It's time to shift to fight for your life. And I was president of a company at that time, and I was in my office that day, and thankfully I locked my door for that doctor's call, because that's not what I was expecting. And so I paused and went, okay, I can be thankful that I had, 9 extra years with 2 eyes, and I'm gonna live past 50 with 1. Like, I can embrace that. Um, and then, we shifted to preparing for that surgery, and it wasn't, when I was let known, "Diana, it's gonna be 4 surgeons operating on you over a 12-hour procedure, and one of them is a neurosurgeon." That makes you pause again, because that was one of my greatest fears at the beginning, that it was going to be in my brain, and it was, resting on the dura, the lining of the brain. And I knew that, after talking with a neurosurgeon, and he looked at me and said, "Diana, it's gonna be a knock your socks off moment, and you may not wanna leave your house for weeks." And I went, "Oh." You don't quite know how to take that until you wake up from surgery, and then you kinda get it. Um, but after surgery, I had weeks of recovery and then 7 weeks of radiation, and it was during that time frame I started to reflect and remember, "Okay, Diana, you wanted to write a book." My 7 weeks of radiation was 4 hours away from home, so I had lots of time on my hands because I couldn't really work, and I needed to do radiation and then rest and recover. So I used that time frame to work on the outline for the book, to start to submit, speeches to be critiqued by the Maxwell leadership speaking, coach, Roddy,
Yeah.
and try out for stage time, which means you get to share your 3-minute story in front of the thousands of people that attend the John Maxwell conference. And I just started to do things that I hadn't done, and it had been good ideas, right, in my journal, and set the goal to not only get to speak on stage, but also continue that and write the book. And as I was prepping my 3-minute speech, trying to condense my 10-year journey at the time into 3 minutes, I was, working through with Roddy what the lesson is and what I was grabbing from it. And yes, certainly you can look at me and know that I've had an adversity come my way, right? I only have 1 eye, and I have this skin flap covering where the eye was. But during the journey, I have had so many opportunities to meet doctors and nurses and fellow patients that I never would have met otherwise. And I have met new friends and made some powerful connections. I have also raised my hand multiple times to let me help another patient that's gonna have a surgery like mine, and let me answer their questions for them, because I had nobody, right? And nobody can relate to this. Um, and so I have gotten to do that multiple times, just to talk to somebody and help talk them through what it's really gonna be like and how they're gonna navigate. And, um, and so thus the title of the book, Uniquely Imperfect, Uniquely Qualified. I am certainly, you can look at me and you see a unique imperfection. But because I've been able to move past poor me to, okay, God, why did this happen to me? How do we get to use this? Right? I have been able and uniquely qualified to help others to move forward through their adversities. That was a really long answer. I'm sorry.
No, no, it's okay. I mean, this is your show. Um, I had a saying back during the pandemic. Everybody's locked in the house and doing these Zooms, and I don't know if Florida wasn't as bad as California in that regard, but my goodness, it was. I was in Southern California at the time, and so I went live almost every day. And the one thing that kept coming out was, you have to find the opportunities within the obstacles. I
Yeah.
mean, that was just the one thing that just kept coming out for me was w obviously, we can't shut the planet down, right? Obviously, there's certain things that were considered essential and certain things considered non-essential. Now, if you lived in California, essential things were very strange things.
Yeah.
And non-essential things were things that I still considered essential. And so there was this wicked kind of like dichotomy conflict thing going on with me. And I really latched onto this idea of we have to find the opportunities within the obstacles. We got to find out, how are we going to communicate around these barriers that we've got? How are we going to keep relationships with people when it seems like everything that a relationship is based on is being stripped away?
Mm.
And it was a real struggle. And now here we are, 5 years later, and I'm still finding myself relying on that core concept. Like, we got to find the opportunities within the obstacles, and there's a silver lining on a cloud. We just got to find it. Um, Being able to take your obstacle and make it an opportunity for others is really quite remarkable. If you had to put it into words, how do you think that you would like describe what that's like for you? Like, you go to visit patients and you're seeing them at their worst time, and you have the opportunity to say, I was in this chair, I shared a bed just like this, and here I am today. Like,
Mm.
I have a saying, it's like I can do anything for a short amount of time. I used to be really fat. I'm fat now. I'm fat now, but I used to be really fat.
Well,
And to lose weight, I started doing warrior dashes and Spartan races, and I
okay.
do a lot of bicycling things. I like bicycling more than running. But halfway through these events, I would get horribly angry at myself. This is stupid. Why did I sign up for this? This is dumb. And then I would think to myself, wait a minute, I can do anything for a short amount of time. All I got to do is get through this and then enjoy the spoils when I'm done. Um, and then the older I got, the more mature I got, I realized everything is a short amount of time. When I had cancer as a teenager, that was a short amount of time. That's done. It's over with. The financial crisis of 2008, which for us and my family, it started in 2005. So we went through it for years before we came out the other side. But there was so much growth that happened in those uncomfortable moments that I think it's given me a horrible advantage over others now. Um, so I walk back to that original question. How does it feel for you? What's that feeling inside when you meet with a patient? They're at the worst time of their life, but you're like, I know what this is like. We can do anything for a short amount of time.
Mhm. Well, it's very, it helps to provide purpose to the adversity. Um, and I've always been, somebody, and probably people that have reported to me as a leader over the years, right? Whether they would come and be like, "I'm having a bad day," or "I can't do this," I'm really frustrated about it. At times, I would just say, "Just go help somebody, and you're gonna feel better." Like, you gotta get out of your head, so go distract yourself. Just go help somebody. And that's an element of, the advice I've been, doing for myself, right? If I go help somebody, and help them to see, that it's gonna be okay, right? They're gonna wake up from surgery. I will there's pictures in my book of what I look like when I woke up from surgery, because I just wanted to be transparent and authentic. Many times people have no idea what it's like to go through a journey like this, and, I just wanted to be real, because I, so I have no problem going in and sharing and showing pictures with them of, okay, this is what I look like when I woke up from surgery, but this is what I look like now, and I can still smile. Like, it will be okay, right? You're gonna have hard moments getting from point A to point B, but you can do it, right? And, text or call me if you have questions along the journey, because there's some things that only, a fellow warrior can answer, right? They can't. A
Yeah.
doctor can't relate to what it's like.
Well, and I love that concept that, you've created a connection, not an instance. There's so much to be said there, right? Relationships make everything turn. So, let's switch gears a little bit. I know that you do a fair amount of public speaking, and this isn't going to become like a contest between us because I know that you'll win, with the sizes of audiences and the frequency of talks. But what's a really for the people listening, or for the people that might be inspired to say, we should probably have her come and talk. What's what's a really good fit for you for a room to speak with?
Um, I think the topics, right, that I can most connect on, with the room are resilience or adversity are often ones that make sense. I am also very passionate around, DISC for communication and personality, and, I That's actually, I reference whenever I do something like that. We all have blind spots. I have one literally, like you're saying it, but we all have them when it comes to communication and how we interact with others. And I can, be authentic and real and lighten the mood a little bit. But those are items that I have found. I love to speak and engage, but workshops are almost more my favorite because then I get to interact more and there's interaction across the group. I don't, it's important to me that people walk away with an application and something that they're going to do differently. I want to make sure I add value and they also are walking away going, this is what I'm going to do different, or this is what I learned. Because we all have sat in sessions and meetings and we walked out and don't even remember what we listened to. So
Yeah.
I don't be that speaker.
No, that's a hard one to stomach. Like yourself, I prefer workshops myself. So, I used to be the national training manager for Ducati North America, the motorcycle company, and I taught all the technicians. And I could go and do a product announcement, even if it was in another country. Like it's such an amazing event, right? The catering, the new products, it's Ducati, everything's fancy, everything's great. And it's the experience is fun, right? Don't get me wrong, it's fun and you get to be in front of everybody and do the talk. That's one thing. But to me, the magic of that position was when I had 12 technicians in a workshop and I
Mhm.
was like, hey, we gave you the theory online. We just did a review today in the classroom this morning, and now it's the afternoon. We've got 6 motorcycles in here. Let's take them apart and let's discuss what we see. Like that is like tools in hands, physical dexterity. I used to love doing that. And I think I don't want to say COVID ruined it, right? Because like it still happens now. We still have those things.
Okay.
It's not at the frequency that it used to be
Yeah.
at.
Yeah.
A lot of technical training has become like hands off. It's become Zoom based or e-learning based. And I have a company that makes e-learning products. So I'm certainly not against e-learning, but I think there's a real value to that blended learning example where you get hands on with people and you're able to get into the thick of it. And so if I had to be, let's say I had to be like a crazy person, like you have your book, if you had your book and you broke that into courses, but then the result of those courses was that someone came and took, a practicum in person like workshop and did things like with a group of people, I think that could be like an amazing thing.
Mhm. No, that is on my list. I am working on a workshop pilot to do here locally to me first. And the book is actually written in a kind of a workshopy format where there's at the end of each chapter, there's application questions and reflection questions because similar to speaking, when you read the book, I want people to not just learn about Diana, but what did that spark when you read the chapter and who who do you need to reach out to today that is going through something tough and you're avoiding or where are you stuck and pulling those questions out. So I wrote it with the intention of there's a workshop coming. So
Nice. Now, do you see yourself being someone that's gonna, sit back and write more books, or do you see yourself being someone that's focused on the one project?
I have 3 to 4 books that are like listing out. So I just met with my accountability partner this morning and I was like, next week when we meet, I'm going to give you a schedule of when I'm going to sketch these books out. But the next one I want to do is a children's version of Uniquely Imperfect, Uniquely Qualified. I think children, I love when they come talk to me. They will just stare, because they're kids and I love it. Parents will often try to, stop staring and I'll go, hi, and I'll try to talk to them because I think it's important for kids to realize it's okay. People are going to look different. And for me to smile and be willing to talk to them and have good conversations with them, I just feel that I need to write a book about it. So that's my next one. And then after that, I have a few other one's more of a business type book around grit and why I picked grit as the name of the company. So they will keep. I need to keep writing. So
Yeah, it's a disease. I'll pray for you. So, my writing took a turn when I started doing a lot of corporate work. And so I became like super prolific. I was writing all kinds of stuff, but it's like it says, from Ducati or from Suzuki on it. It doesn't say from Kurt Von Allen. But it's been really interesting doing things. And as things have morphed, as media has morphed, I find that I'm doing a lot more video now than text. Um, but I kind of have like this yearning. In 22, I put out a book on leadership. And then, but now I'm thinking, okay, if I was going to take that up another notch, what would that be? If I was going to put out a book next year, what would it be? And so I've got one just like yourself. I've got one that's swimming around, the outline's done, and now it's time to expand it and start putting words to the page. It's a battle for me with the AI thing because AI is such a temptation. But I really want the words to be from me. Like I want it to have my voice and my energy. But you really can knock some things out with AI. So it's a little bit of a struggle. How are you in that space? Are you using any AI tools or anything like that?
um, I use it some to kind of check. I would say to check my work. I write first, and then I'll maybe throw it in an AI tool and go, okay, how would you reword it or rephrase it? And then I look at it and go, yeah, but that's not me. And so yeah, I go back through. It is helpful for like research or things like that at times to help aggregate things together. But um I don't find it as a way for me to write because you get used to what your voice is or people understand, like connect with your way of writing.
Yeah, sometimes I think it gets in the way. I like it, like I'll write an outline and then I'll say review this outline and see if there's any glaring topics I missed. And then sure enough, it comes up with 3 or 4 things and I go, I can't believe I didn't think of that. So I use it in that way, but the text still comes from me. Because as soon as I see AI content, I seem to be able to recognize it. Like I see it and I go, that's an AI word. That's an AI phraseology. That's not the way I speak. And I tend to write the way I speak. There's certain rules that just seem to get broken all the time by people that are in the lead. And it made me realize that following the rules isn't the number one thing. Like when we went to school, when we were young, you would hear, oh, if you want to be a public speaker, don't do this with your hands. Don't do this with make sure you stand this way. Don't sit down. Don't do that. And then I go and see John Maxwell, who I love,
Yeah.
and he goes up, puts his hands in his pockets and sits down.
Right. He does.
And I go, well, he's one of the best speakers we know. So
Right.
obviously there are rules, there are best practices, but not everything needs to be cut in stone. And I feel that way about writing. I feel that writing should very much have a sense of your voice or your cadence to it. It doesn't necessarily have to follow what Grammarly says is the right thing to do in Microsoft Word. So, well, that all said, I want to make sure that I honor your time. Is there anything that I need to bring up or mention or cover to have you on the interview today?
I always love the opportunity to remind people that to think through the adversities that have come their way, and there's always that glimmer of opportunity in them. And if we move forward, right, we have a great opportunity to help somebody else that may be struggling with the same thing. And you and I both shared elements of that today. And I just love to take the opportunity to encourage people. We can move forward and we can find a way. And that way is often to help somebody else.
Great. Well, folks, this has been Diana Fritz. You are going to see all of our links down in the show notes. If you watch our stuff over on manananomas.com, if you go through the posts, you're going to see a summary and the links there. So you'll know how to reach Diana. And Diana, it's been an absolute pleasure having you. Let's wave goodbye to the folks.
All right. Bye. Thanks.